All right, so the question is, now that you know what biomechanical leverage is, how to feel it? Well, getting back to that thing I was talking about at the beginning, new player experience. You throw your disc a little bit, and eventually your friend teaches you how to release it with the nose kind of pointing down, really Anheuser, which is a way to produce more distance when you don't know how to throw. And you kind of build from there, and eventually, like so many people in this sport, maybe it's a month, maybe it's a year, but if you're not sequencing properly, and you're not harnessing biomechanical leverage, and you're not bracing properly, and they're all extremely related, you cap out, and you usually cap out around like 48 to 50 miles an hour. I've been taking radar speeds with pocket radar since 2016. I'm actually the reason why Central Coast Disc Golf incorporated ball coach pocket radars into their coverage. I gifted 2 of them to Ian way back in 2016, I think, when I showed them to him at Beaver State Fling. Anyway, most people cap out around 48 to 50 miles an hour, maybe 52. The guys who are known for power at most courses throw like 55 to 56. Very few people get to 60. It's extremely rarefied distance, but it is attainable with incorrect form, which is kind of about where I capped out. But most people cap out a lot lower based on their athleticism, their experience. And at that point, how to progress? How on earth do you even begin to understand what good form is and how people are producing it? Either you just give up and you focus instead on upshots and putting, as so many people in my experience eventually do, or you start over, you reset the entire experience, you course correct your learning trajectory, and you go from trying to throw rotationally like an adult with your upper body to sequencing properly. And it begins with one central thing, which is the method. And the videos will talk more about that in time. But instead, I'm going to show you guys what I kind of started doing when I began to hone in on this technology. Someone in the Reddit comments objected to the use of that word. They also objected to my shoes, apparently. I'm not allowed to use these black ones anymore. They're either too bougie or they're not suitable. So I went back to my REI shoes, and I don't know where they came from. I'm sorry, I know where they came from. I have no idea what they are. They just felt good. So when I started honing in on the method itself and the feeling that it gave me for the first time in almost 20 years of playing disc golf, I began with standstills. And it's like so many other people who are trying to learn. They get capped out after a month or 2 or a year. And they want to learn, and everybody online goes, start with standstills. But look at this. Here's a standstill when you're trying to throw with your upper body. Not very accurate, for one. I don't even know how to do them anymore, to be honest. You see this so much when people are trying to do standstills. This is what their throws look like. Because they're doing a standstill of their running form. It's identical. And just standing still while doing the wrong thing is not going to suddenly lead you to the promised land. It doesn't work that way. The standstill done properly, however, can allow you to focus on the sequence without having to get terribly off balance. Because just like in any athletic endeavor at all, be it dancing, martial arts, boxing, obviously disc golf, balance is key. Being able to shift your weight laterally and quickly without anything changing in your upper body is balance. The sport is so balletic. If you look at the movements that people do with their body, it's indistinguishable from dance. And to gain balance in dancing, of course, takes often years of experience. In disc golf, you can take a lot of the balance problems out of the equation by removing the motion. So if you start at a standstill, you have a steel, solid frame that you can then build into and layer into once you begin to feel this mystical and magical biomechanical leverage thing I'm talking about. So for me, I began actually doing standstills on one leg like this, with my leg basically completely straight and pivoting in. And when you start doing lessons with the method, you will begin in that. It's called the frame. It's the frame, and it teaches you this twist, this powerful, aggressive, interior twist that you can build on. And the consequence of that twist is that it locks out the right hip from rotating forward. It removes the intention to try to rotate your upper body at all. It focuses instead on lateral compression, which is what creates that shock wave I talked about in the last video. So for me, I began on one leg because that's really where I started, just like everyone. But gradually, through the genius of both Sebastian Beamy and Lee Wentz, who are the two key co-creators of the method. They work together and they're like, well, wait a minute, what if we just make the standstill position a bent leg? And instead of worrying about twisting inward, you do the simplest thing biomechanically in your body, something you've done a billion times without even thinking. Push into the ground and stand up. It's that simple. Weight over your right heel, barely anything back here. You can put a little weight back here if you want to. All I'm doing is that. Bent knee, stand up. Bent knee, stand up. Take a stride, bent knee, stand up. Take a fast stride, bent knee, stand up. And off you go. I can do it while I'm narrating. It's that simple and efficient. Obviously my balance is very enhanced from doing this a ton of times, but you get there from the standstill. So I'm gonna frame up here, bending my knee. My weight distribution, if I could describe it, because this is very critical to getting a lot of the feel. You need most of the weight, particularly when you're shifting, to be already forward. And when people get screwed up during the X step like I do, it's because when they're X stepping, they either overstride with the left foot or they turn the left foot too far and around. And the consequence of doing this is my weight goes straight into my right foot now. It never should be in your right foot during the X step. As soon as you're on the left foot, there's no weight on the right foot at all until the toe of the right foot touches down into this stand-up position. So if I'm here and I step here, either I fall to the right, you can see what happens there, or I put my weight on my right leg. Now I'm this way and I'm all tangled up, and it's so much harder to move your mass back and forth between your feet. It always wants to be moving in this direction. The standstill fixes that. So I frame up here, my weight again, pushing through the ground, probably 90-10, and keeping my upper body loose and whippy, knowing where I want the leverage point to be. I talked about it before, right there. So I bend my leg, and I stand up on the right leg. You're all used to people having to impact the ground and doing this. Even the guys who throw far, they're unloading all this extra kinetic energy. You don't actually need to do that. If you're at the very, very top end of elite power, if you look at guys like David Wiggins' throw, if you look at my good friend and co-collaborator, Sebastian Beamy throw, those guys get so much kinetic energy in their run-up that they can't get it all into the ground and then into the disc. A little bit bleeds out and they go forward. But there are so many people who are following through, they don't need to at all if you just use the way your body wants to move. So again, with standstills, I keep getting distracted. These are so fast and powerful. One, bent knee, weight over here, loose arm, head forward. Gun it where you know the disc is going to go fast. I'll throw it very gently. You can just see how much power is coming from this right leg. This piston drives the backhand. People have been thinking it's like your hips working and stuff. I know that the orthodoxy of the sport is moving away from that right now, which is fantastic. But for years, people have thought that there's a hip engagement element in the throw, that the hips rotate and turn to throw the disc. They don't. Your right leg throws it for you. This is so powerful compared to twisting the hips. Just smashing the disc into the net. And everybody keeps nagging me about how fast do you throw, man? At the end of the day, it just matters how far the disc goes. Who cares how fast it's going? I know that everyone wants all these metrics about speed. We've been obsessed with it. There was a second huge energetic component to a throw that has been massively understated in most of the people who teach and talk about this sport. A disc moves through the air. It has kinetic energy, right? Flying along. That kinetic energy is bound up in the disc, 1/2 mv squared. However, there's another gigantic kinetic energy component to the disc that isn't velocity. It's rotation. It's rotational energy. Spin, as we call it, which does two things. One, these discs have most of their mass around the outside, on the perimeter, which means that when the disc is spinning fast in the air, that mass is moving extremely quickly around a central axis, which locks it in place. It locks it in place as long as it has air, or as long as it has lift. It doesn't wobble. And the thing is like a saw blade. It's cutting through the air. And a disc that's thrown at very, very high RPMs. And I'm going to be doing some calculations about how fast actually discs really truly spin. And I'm not going to use algorithmic calculation on a third-party product to do that. I'm going to actually do it the right way with a camera and so on, like a high-speed camera. But the faster the disc spins, the more energy is captive in it. And the faster it goes, the more energy they add together. In fact, I'm pretty sure that spin probably matters more than speed, actually. When it comes down to cardinal distance, they add together. Because as the disc cuts through the air and it spins, it's dispersing energy into the surrounding air through friction. It's grinding off energy into the air around it, heating up the air slightly as it moves. That energy gets lost in the disc, and eventually, once the energy is dissipated enough, the disc will fall out of the air and settle. However, if you put a shitload of energy into the disc, when you accelerate it with correct biomechanical leverage, it has insane velocity and it has insane spin and insane energy, and you get way more distance. Ultimately, they both matter, but I think people have overemphasized how fast speed is and underemphasized how important speed and kinetic energy are. I'm going to throw a few more shots here and then finish the video. My legs are throwing the disc for me. It's really my right leg. Smash. Standstills. And the thing is too, I'm swinging hard as hell here, but as long as my brace is in the right spot, as soon as this leg stands up, it has nowhere to go but straight, which means the energy goes right where I want it to, straight down the line. You can throw like a putter 350 feet, 8 feet off the ground, just hovers like a UFO. And you throw with enough speed. You get the idea. Anyway, a pretty long video. There'll be plenty more to come. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.